Hey, it's Mark, your firefighter, realtor, and out-of-state investor. Today, I have a special guest on. She's a single mother. She's an entrepreneur. She's a out-of-state investor, and she's, working on her fourth house hack right now. So I want to introduce you to Alyssa McEwan, and here she is.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I guess I'll just jump right into it. So my name is Alyssa McEwan. I'm from Utah, born and raised. After high school, I graduated and moved up to Montana to play volleyball up there. And I worked on, my psychology degree. And then in 2015, graduated from that. During that time, I landed a pretty good job and it was pretty stable. And I, had roommates that was bouncing with me to rental. And so when the opportunity came and my landlord wanted to sell, it was either buy another rental or, buy a home. And so I decided to go check that out. So I guess, I don't really know how much you want me to go into my personal life or just jump into how I got into real estate. But so basically, I didn't know that, I was always taught that buying a house was hard. And so it never really crossed my mind that it was attainable for me. And so, I just walked into a credit union and just was like, hey, this is my stuff. This is my credit. I really want to look at buying a home. Is it possible? And I just remember, the banker looking at me and just being like, all right, how much do you want? And I remember being like, are you serious? And so I walked out with a pre-approval and I was on cloud nine. I literally was like, everybody look, because I did not think it was attainable, It's crazy because I was thinking about this and it's like, I was always taught that buying a home had to be like a perfect time in your life, good job and, a husband and kids or like whatever. It had to like be perfect. When I found that I could, it was actually attainable for me. I just was super excited to jump in on it. So, do you want me to go into my first house hack or?
Well, let's kind of stop right there. I mean, that's an awesome, journey and beginning, but I kind of want to, how did you get into house hacking right away? Like you're talking about, we were raised and we're taught, this certain way of getting a home and starting the home ownership process. And I don't think, especially back then, house hacking wasn't like a common terminology, I think. And just how did you get that mindset? Or how did you go down this route?
So I always knew, I guess you can say I was rent hacking. So I always had roommates with me. So from college, people I worked with, like I always had like a 3 to 4 bedroom house and it was all filled with roommates all the time. And so we were paying like $300 a month. And I took most of the responsibility with paying the rent. So I would collect it every month. I'd have the utilities in my name. And so I really took on that responsibility. And so I just remember thinking, I remember specifically, I was like, how cool would it be if this was my house and my roommates were giving me money for my home, And so, but I just was like, yeah, whatever. Like, that can't happen, but so when I came across, a duplex, it was actually a single family home. So after I had my pre-approval, I had a single family home with like a mother-in-law in the basement. And I always just knew if I could rent the rooms upstairs and then rent out the bottom, it had like a separate entrance to like, just a tenant, then that would cover the mortgage plus some, And so this house was perfect for it. So we closed on that. Moved upstairs. Upstairs was 3 bed, 1 bath. Downstairs was 1 bed, 1 bath. Rented it out. And I lived for free the entire time, there. And so I found out about that, but I didn't know what it was called until I found Bigger Pockets. And then, because I got the real estate bug, I'm sure you've heard that before. I became obsessed because I was like, this can happen again. And so I just became obsessed and dove into just like networking and listening to podcasts, reading books, just like trying to just get out there, even though I had no idea what I was doing, No. And so the cool thing about, kind of house hacking on steroids is what I call it, because, you rent out one unit and then you rent out the other bedrooms in the unit too. And it really, I mean, my savings rate during that time, I didn't have any debts, no car payment, like hardly any debt anywhere. So I almost was saving my whole entire paycheck for my other one. And it gave me that opportunity to do that. So obviously Bigger Pockets was a huge help during that time. And then, and then I was able to save for that year in a few months and then do it again. So
that is an awesome way to start. And I wish I knew about house hacking when I first, purchased my first property and started my journey. But I mean, it's amazing that you got that bug and house hacking, because like you're saying, it basically reduces your cost of living, and that's how you're able to save more and scale quicker. So for a lot of people that may not be familiar with, I guess, house hacking or what the benefits are, or even the challenges, is there like certain, I guess, obstacles as far as trying to house hack, or what would you say the difficulties were?
I mean, I would say a difficulty would be, I mean, you are giving up your space. So I did have to share a bathroom with 4 other grown adults and only one bathroom. And that was hard. But at the same time, like, I was comfortable with them enough to where, it didn't really bother me. I mean, like I said before, I lived with these roommates. My sister moved down from Utah. So like I was comfortable, and that really helped, make those decisions. But I would say another difficulty was just kind of learning how to be a landlord on training wheels, because when the first tenant that I put in, I mean, I really didn't know how to screen her. Like I met her, I printed off, application online, didn't really know what I was doing. And then, for her background check, I literally not ever do this now, but for her background check, she gave me her like authorization to do so. And then she's like, squeaky clean. And I was like, okay, good enough for me. And so I gave her the place, and she was awesome. But I got lucky because you never know who you're putting in the house, so always do background check, always eviction check, everything. But yeah, so that was the first house hack, was just kind of teaching myself, how to be a good landlord and how to be a good homeowner, and really learning how to take care of a property. Really, that was, mine. So, yeah, so I hope that answered the question.
No, yeah, that's great advice, especially like, placing tenants and, learning how to be a landlord and, managing the property. How did you, I guess, what was the process from scaling from your first house hack to the second house hack? Like what was the time frame between those two?
So the next one it was a year and a couple months. And it was right in 2020. So when the whole world kind of stopped. And so, I had my pre-approval for the next one. I had the down payment. I had, the reserves, like I was ready to go. And I just remember seeing on the forums and, just seeing people like, oh, my deal fell through, or the lending stopped, or tenants quit paying. And I just like moving forward, like seeing all this fear stuff, that I just was like, should I do this? Like I was really scared. But I just remember one quote, and I should have wrote it down because I forgot it again. But it was like, run while nobody, I can't remember. I'm not even going to try now. But there was one quote that was good. That was like, keep going. So I did that. So I just was like, you know what, let's just do it. And I am so glad that I made that decision, because this deal that it was, let me back up a little bit, because I think this might be helpful for somebody out there. So in Great Falls, because that's where my 2 properties were, I was able to network with a couple flippers that were in the market, and they were out of state. And I just offered to be their boots on the ground. I was familiar with, the town like the back of my hand. I offered to be boots on the ground for, their projects. And there was a side-by-side duplex that they were renovating. And I went there a couple times to just, keep tabs on the contractor. And then later, it came up on the market and I was ready to buy, and I already had relationship with the sellers and everything, like still working with them. And I was like, hey, like, I would like to go check it out now that it's done. So went there, checked it out. The numbers looked awesome. So I just was like, let's put in an offer. And so put in an offer, and they knew that it was me because I texted them. I was like, hey, I'm putting in an offer. And they were like, sweet. And so, there's a couple times the deal could have fell through because there was a low appraisal that came back and all of the stuff, but they wanted to sell to me because I had that relationship with them. So it's really important. I guess moral of the story is, just reach out to people and see how you can bring them value. And honestly, I have no idea how I can bring somebody value. And sometimes I still don't, but I'm just like, okay, I can hustle. I got 2 feet in a heartbeat. Like, I can take pictures for you. Like, I'll do that, and so that's really all I knew at that time. And so ended up paying out. And that deal is literally, it's my top right now. It's killing it. So
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, like everybody I'm talking to and meeting, it's kind of like what you're just saying, what kind of value you can bring, or just
right.
networking. And you never know, how these people can help you down the road, or how you can help them. And like you said, you found a great deal with these people that you were the boots on the ground for. So that second property, did you save up all the money for the down payment, or did you pull out any type of equity from the first property?
That was all the cash flow from my property and cash flow from my job. Like I said, I was working a full time. And so I was saving my entire paycheck. I literally was just paying for gas and food and the gym. So I literally would just like save it and save it and save it. And I was able to save like 17 to 20,000 in a year just by myself. And that was a lot to me because I've never had that type of cash before in my life, and so, but doing that really, just kind of living below your means and really not going super crazy with spending, really, really helped put myself in a good position to do it again. And I'm so glad I did, because it's, that deal. Now, mind you, it's the ugliest house on the block. It's so ugly, but cash flows, the numbers are pretty. So
Wait. Hold on. The second one is the ugliest house.
Oh, yeah.
Really? But I thought it was a flip. No?
Well, so it looks like the Alamo. Have you seen the Alamo?
I have not. I'm
like orange building.
okay.
That's what it looks like. It's a huge cinder block. One day I'll have to show you pictures so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You will see it. So, and then the inside, they did renovate it. So they added 2 bedrooms downstairs, and then they lipstick the upstairs, basically. So it wasn't like a full remodeled, shiny, bricks or whatever. It definitely was a lipstick on a pig, but I'll admit. So
hey, cash flows.
it cash flows so nice. And with this deal, this was an interesting deal in a way of like, the appraisal. So I put in an offer at 225, but the appraiser came back at 193. So then that's pretty low. Like, that's huge miss. And the reason why was because I guess the appraiser was like a big shot in the area. Like, he was pretty well known, and he didn't count the 2 bedrooms downstairs. So when I closed, so they still went through on the deal with me, but when I closed, I put an egress window on one side to get that one a bedroom. And then I have a window to do another one at the next vacancy, because if I put an egress, then it will be considered 2-1 with an extra bedroom downstairs. However, and I've got all that equity that the sellers missed out on. So yeah, I mean, that was kind of a nice deal in that way that, it just kind of worked out in its own way. So
now you've done 2 house hacks, and you're actually working on your 4th, right? So so you have, are they all in Montana?
So the next 2 are in Utah. So, with my second house hack, I was pregnant with my daughter, and, I knew that once I gave birth to her and I just knew it was time for us to go back home to Utah and be with family, because that's where I'm from originally. And so yeah, so we started to plan our life around that. And the next year we worked, obviously, and then, I had Kaylani, and then, just kind of prepared and saved and whatnot. But we eventually bought a house in Utah to do the same thing. And so with now, at that time, I didn't know what a buy box was. It wasn't a word in my vocabulary, but I had a buy box for every property I noticed. And it was either a single family home with a mother-in-law or a separate living space or a duplex. Right. And that's kind of just, so that's what we were looking for before, or for the next one, sorry, was to find, a single family home with a mother-in-law. And so that's what we found. We found one in Clearfield, and it, has 3-bed, 2-bath upstairs, 2-bed, 1-bath downstairs. And, it ended up being an awesome deal. It was had flooding. And so I think some people were kind of walking away from it because the carpet was, lifted up and, cuts in the walls and stuff. But homes were flying off the market in Utah. And I knew we had to be quick because they were just like going crazy up. And that's when it was like going crazy. That makes sense. So
still up to this point, you haven't touched the equity on the property. This one is another one you saved up.
Yeah. Every single one we've just done the save up and buy. So all the equity in the future. So I'm hoping in a few years or so, I may be able to tap into that and then really start using that to scale a little bit more. But I still feel like I have a lot to learn, and I want to be able to stabilize myself with what I have right now, building those reserves and whatnot, and then getting to that point where I can start scaling a little bit more, if that makes sense.
No, yeah. I mean, so I kind of want, so you still have the 2 properties in Montana.
Mm-hmm.
Are you self-managing them, or do you have a property manager now?
Yeah, so I'm self-managing from 500, 600 miles away. And the only reason why I decided to do that was I felt comfortable with the systems that I have in place. I do know a lot of people in Great Falls too. So I have an awesome handyman that he's just right on it. He will literally, get onto whatever I needed quickly. Thank goodness for him. And he does so well with the tenants too. And then I've got, some friends up there that I've identified as, emergency contact or like whatever. And then you just kind of build your vendors list and go on. So it's attainable when you have, your systems and you have your software that you use. And there's a few things that I could do better on. Like I could do better with doing inspections. Like I do walkthroughs, when he has, changed the filter and stuff like that. And he just checks, but to do official inspections, that's something that I'm hoping to do a little better on, just so I can start catching things that I need to catch. So it's still a work in progress with just doing better in the garage. Sorry.
No. Hey, we all have lives, we all have busy schedules,
roommates.
Yeah. The house hack thing, see?
I know, it's so inconvenient.
No, so okay, let's touch on that right now then. So is your vision is like, I think a lot of people, when they hear house hacking or roommates, they don't want to do it. Like you're saying, you got to share the bathroom or share space. And that's kind of what's holding a lot of people back from actually starting in house hacking or shared living. Is this like a long-term plan? Do you see yourself house hacking like, 5 or 6 more properties, or is it kind of a process to get to a certain point?
I would say a process to get to a certain point, because, one day I do want to be able to buy, my dream home or, just like something with a pool for sure. But I definitely have a few more years of house hacking. The plan for after this one. So, we bought our last one, we're stabilizing it. We have a renter in the front, whatever. But the next year and a half, it's going to be focused on airtighting those systems in place and building those reserves and building the next down payment, because I still have roommates that are willing to move with me, and it's been like that since college. Like literally you sit down with them and you're like, okay, so this is the plan. We're going to be moving here, and surprised, like I've been very fortunate in that way where people are willing to move with me during this journey. And that's like, I really do consider myself lucky and very fortunate to have, a big family or whatnot to do that with. And so I know that there's a few years left for sure while my daughter is young.
So
So
there's a couple of things I kind of want to touch on that you kind of referring to, but let's go back to family. Like, what do they think about this whole house hacking and real estate journey for you?
they're all really proud, honestly. They see it, and what I really love to see is that they're trying to get to the point where they can do the same thing. One thing that I found with this last house hack that I had, or that we did, was I did need a co-signer because my financial situation, it could be better, meaning like I could have done better with my taxes, with the income, and then with my job now. So I did need a co-signer. And so when I was looking at my family, I was like, hey, so I've got this deal, it's really great, who wants to jump in on it with me, and kind of giving that opportunity. And nobody was in the position to be able to do so. And that really kind of surprised me, whether it was credit or income or no job or like all this stuff. And so I just was like, guys, like, come on, let's do this. Like, come on, and so and that's where Shiloh comes in, my roommate from Hawaii. She was kind of watching in the background, and I didn't know she was, but she was kind of watching like what I was doing and like all these real estate number stuff, and I'd always talk to her about it. And then, she would be like, well, like, I'm interested. Like, can you tell me more about this deal? And then that's when I really like went through the numbers with her, and I was like, and like, we can make this work. This could be, something that you and I can do as partnership and all that stuff. And she was down. And so she did the last one with me. And so, and I'm very thankful for her. I know a lot of people are kind of against the co-signing, and that's fine. But for me at this time in my life, it made sense. And I wanted to be able to capitalize on the opportunity that was in front of me. And so, that's why, that's a little bit how I got into the fourth house.
That actually was leading to my next question, was kind of, no, like, as this being your fourth house hack you're working on, has any of your roommates kind of jumped in this real estate journey alongside of you, or kind of followed this path of seeing what you're doing? And it sounds like you're helping someone else get started. I mean, they're helping you, but at the same time they're learning off of your process, and they're kind of piggybacking off of your system.
Right.
But I want to kind of, how did your roommate end up in Utah? Like, what made her leave Kauai? She said, I know she's from Kauai.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even know. So she needed some change in her life. And just at the time, we had a room come available at our Clearfield house at that time. Oops, sorry, just hit something. Anyways, and my sister just messaged her and just was like, hey, we got this extra room. If you ever, they always talked about moving together. And she just was like, sure, I'll do it. And she's very, very spontaneous as well. And so she just was like, I want to get out of Hawaii, time for something new. And, she had it, all the pointers were telling her to make a change in her life and to come to Utah. And she did. And, I've seen some amazing growth with her. A lot of my other roommates that I have had, they always showed interest in real estate. But when it came down to actually doing the work and like making the moves to do so, they haven't quite taken that step, and it's kind of that barrier, kind of like what I told you in the beginning, is I didn't think it was attainable. I didn't think that buying a house was something that I can do. I almost feel like there's a type of barrier that stops them from taking those action or something, because once you find out you can actually push through it, then it's off to the races, like you just don't want to stop. So yeah, so I wish more people did it, and I like to talk about it. I'm sure people get annoyed, but
No, I hear you. I mean, like you're saying, I always refer to the guys at the firehouse, and I'm always talking about it. I'm sure I'm driving them crazy. However, like you mentioned, though, I mean, they're interested, but there's a difference in being interested and then actually taking action. And it's
100%.
I get the feeling a lot of times is, it is work. It's not easy, and it does take some work. And a lot of times they're just not willing to do that work, or they want the answers from you, like, oh, what market should I invest in, or what property should I get? And you have your systems, and I mean, I know, like you say, you're probably helping your friends and roommates, but at the same time, they got to make the decisions on their own. So I see that every day, and I was trying to see if your roommate moved because of the cost of living in Hawaii, and if it was so expensive, and that's the reason why.
Yeah, no, she just had some life things that she just needed to change. And I'm so thankful because we love Shiloh. She is so amazing. So I'm hoping that, she'll get the real estate bug too. I think in some ways she's not quite as educated with, like, I gave her all my books and was like, let me know if you have any questions, start with this one, and so I think she's going through them slowly. But I think it can be a little overwhelming for somebody in the beginning, for sure. But I mean, you have to start somewhere. Like, I remember when I first started, I had no idea what questions to ask. Like, I remember typing my questions out in like 5 different ways to see which one sounded like the best, and then posting that, and it's like, you don't know until you start doing it. And then your questions get better and better. And then you know what to ask, and you know what you're looking for. And it just, you have to start with the first step, and then you get to the second one, and then you get the third. And like, I'm not an expert by all means, but I'm a lot further than where I was before. And I think that's all that matters. And it's just keep going at this point.
Totally agree. Like, I feel like you said, you learn so much by doing and just getting that first one, or getting your foot in the door. And, like you said, reading all these books and, listening to podcasts, it helps. But at the same time, just going through the process of finding a property and even the lending, figuring out the lending and closing, it's just, you learn so much by doing.
Mm-hmm. And that's one advice that I would give to somebody too, is no matter what situation you're in right now, go talk to a lender, find out where you're at, even if you have the lowest of credit score and not very good income, or debt to income is crazy or whatever, but learn where you're at and learn what you have to do to make it happen. And that was my intention with this 4th property. I thought I was years out before getting my 4th. And when I went to my lender and just kind of showed him everything, and he just was like, if you got a cosigner, you can do it right now. And I was like, really? Like, sweet, then maybe, and that's what kind of started my journey on this last one, but it's just, talk to a lender. And that's another thing that I kind of noticed with people is like, they just assume that they can't, and they don't take that first step just to ask that question of like, what do I do to get there? That doesn't happen. And then they're just like, oh, market's crazy, I can't afford anything, rent's so high. Like, and it's just like, you didn't even ask. You didn't even call a lender and find out where you're at, and so that's my advice.
Great advice, because that's kind of when I first started. I got a few properties, and properties in Hawaii are so expensive. So my primary residence was kind of eating up my debt to income already. And after my first few purchases in Pittsburgh, I was just like, how am I supposed to scale? And how do these people get 10, 20 properties? And that's what led me down to the alternative type of lending, like debt service coverage ratio. But like you're saying, there's usually an answer or solution out there. Mm-hmm. And somebody has done it. So it's just a matter of finding it or searching for it. But just like you're saying, people just don't want to get started, or they think they can't do it. And that's great advice. Yeah, I guess that's great advice to just do it and kind of figure it out. And there's just usually some sort of solution out there.
I agree. I agree.
So, you did kind of touch on lending, and I kind of want to just kind of get into the numbers for that as far as, so these are all conventional, I believe.
Mhm.
And what do
Except the
you,
last.
oh, okay, that's true. And the rates, the rates are close to 7 right now. What kind of rates are you looking at for your 4 properties that you have?
So the first property that I call the Blue House, that one was the 3.8. And then the second one, the Alamo, is 2.8. And then the Clearfield house, 3.8. And then the Ogden property is 4.3. You have to have them identified because it makes it
Yeah.
all confusing.
No. So what? So all under
So,
5, all fixed rate debt?
yeah, all 30. The first 3 are conventional, 5% down. The last one is FHA only because they weren't offering the conventional 5% down for a duplex. If we went conventional, we would have had to do 15% down. And that just kind of just at the time wasn't attainable. It would have eaten too much of my reserves and stuff like that. So if we had to go that route, then I would have waited. But because FHA was available and we got a pretty good rate and it cash flows day one, once we move out, it'll be cash flowing super well. It's that the Ogden property has 2 houses on 1 lot. And that's why I loved it, because each one had 2 bedroom, 1 bath. And so easily can get 1,300, 1,350 on each side. I'm a little below that in the front unit right now, but anyways, it'll cash flow really nice. So
That, so it sounds like, Montana, Utah is like these duplexes or small multifamily type properties. Are they pretty available in these markets?
I would say they started to get hot when at least in the beginning, homes that have separate living space get snatched up pretty quick from what I realized. In Great Falls, maybe you could find like a 4-plex or triplex or something like that. But Utah, I think it's once you hit a triplex and up, and even a duplex, it starts to get a little more pricey. The single family homes with separate living space, that's my bread and butter. Like that's where you can find the gold for house hacking. Because if you're planning on living in one unit and renting out the other, especially in an expensive market, it can really cut down your expenses, a lot. So I love the single family homes with the mother-in-law. My first one, sorry, I'm kind of bouncing back to my first one. I forgot to tell you this, but my first one, I worked with the city. I was right next to multifamily. And so I worked with the city to get a conditional use permit to where I can rent it out as a duplex per city if I wanted to. And it was a long process, but it only cost me $1,500 to do it. And I have it rented as a single family home right now because I can actually get more rent that way. But both are being used still, which is a requirement. But yeah, I could choose to use that as a duplex or whatnot. And so there's ways that you can, and it's not for every city or every single family home. You can't always do that, but sometimes you can. So it's good to look at those avenues to see what can, ultimately be a better investment if you think creatively about it, but.
No,
So.
man, it's some great advice and great information here. I kind of also, want to touch on, I know you said, you were pregnant at some point in this journey and you have a little daughter, and how does that play into, I guess, your mindset or what your why is?
It's a really, really good question. And I know I've said before that it took me a little bit to kind of get my why. I knew that this was helping me to become more financially stable. My why would be, to get my time back. I want to be able to travel more. I want to be able to not have to worry about money as much. And I want to eventually teach my daughter how to do the same thing. I don't want her to just assume things are just given to her, because that's not how it goes. But, it's really for her and for my family. And it's, I don't know, my why is getting bigger. It was hard to identify at first. I know that sounds weird, but now it's getting a lot stronger, and it's going to be harder to break,
No, yeah. I mean, we all find our why, and then there's usually something that kind of just flips the switch and makes us look
Really.
at things differently. And, so currently, do you have a W-2 also, or what else are you doing besides the house hacking?
So I have a W-2 job with a property management company. And I am very thankful for this job because it's actually teaching me so much about like how to become a better operator and to hold myself a little more accountable when things happen, not look the other way because you don't want to deal with it. Like it's making me a better real estate professional, I guess you could say. And it's nice because I have different oh my gosh, why am I losing the word here? People to go to for about like the law, like mentors. That's what I was looking for. Mentors to help me, with my properties when I have different things come up. So yeah, that's what I do as well. And yeah, I'm actually enjoying it.
No, that's so do you think you're gonna do like more stuff as far as like getting your license, the property management, or do you have some sort of other business or vision that you're also working
Oh
on at this
man.
time?
Oh man. Okay. So I did think about getting my real estate license. I would love to. I guess for that, I'm just on the edge about that. So there's more conversations and more digging that I want to do just to see if that's really what I want to devote to. I also have invested in my own little gym. And so I want to start doing like a program, for ladies, and just like a different, 8-week program or something. Start with that, just something small. So it's not anything big right now, and it's just kind of in the works. But those are kind of my ideas of bringing in different income. And now it's just about, implementing it and getting things ready and like making the decision to just do my test and go for, become an agent. So there's still work to be done, and I've got a lot of work to do. So those are my two ideas.
So right now you have a program out there, or it's in the works,
It's
or
definitely in the works. I'm still drafting it. I have the workouts, and I then you got to do the videos and the recording, and like, and just kind of get a program, get it all together. So there's a lot to it. And, maybe I'm too early to be like telling the world, but it's what I want to do. So
no? See, now you're on record, so now you're held accountable that
yeah.
you have this business that you want to start and get out there.
Uh-oh.
So now, see, now this is out there for everyone to follow you
Yes.
and keep asking you when it's going to be out and when it's going to be offered.
And
But
they
but
never
that's
got the program.
yeah, no, it's that's awesome. Like you're saying, I mean, I think like I fell for it. I definitely have a W-2, working for a pension, but I realized like how much other opportunities are out there to
Mhm.
start your own business, and there's like other tax benefits and whatnot. But I got my license, so if you ever want to talk about
Yeah,
getting
I
that,
do.
and we can talk about that later. But I definitely know about the whole home gym thing. I have that. We can talk about that later too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's kind of get back a little bit to the real estate side though. So I'm just amazed at like 4 house hacks. And so what is kind of, I guess, your next plan for the property? Because you just closed on this one, right? You said the fourth one.
Yeah, it was in October. Yeah.
So the next one you're probably going to look for some. Are you looking only in Utah now, or you're still looking in Montana? Are you looking in out of state? Right.
Yeah, so if I look in Montana, I wouldn't be able to do the house hacking. So that would be, the 20% down, whatever. I am checking out Great Falls. Great Falls is an awesome, steady cash flow market. So if anybody's interested in Great Falls, let me know. But um, it's got a base and it's got hospitals and it's got a couple schools. I mean, it does have a population of, I think, of 60,000. So it just depends on what your criteria is. But yeah, it's an awesome market. So I'm watching that market for sure. But then Utah, I've identified at, Weber County is kind of where I'm looking, but Ogden is kind of more, I would say, affordable right now. Ogden's kind of like, it's a rougher city. It definitely has its reputation, but there's good parts in Ogden, and it's those areas, the decent areas that I'm watching. So yeah, I'll probably continue to house hack maybe again in Utah. Utah's not where I want to be forever, but at least for the next few years, if I can snatch a couple more house hacks while I'm here, then why not? Eventually I'll make it back to Great Falls, or finding another market somewhere, but as of now, Montana and Utah is kind of where I'm going to continue to grow my trees.
Awesome. So I know I've met you through Michael Zuber's kind of one rental at a time family, and all the his other like Dion and Lumberjack. Mm-hmm. So Zuber always likes to refer to house hacking as the cheat code to wealth. Now, how would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. Every time he says it, I'm like, yes, because that's exactly what I feel. It's so attainable for somebody. And, like I said before, if you look at investing as a whole, it can be really overwhelming. House hacking is landlord and investing training wheels, and anybody can do it, so that's why, I accidentally fell onto this path, and I'm so glad that I did, because it's worth it 100%.
And like you're saying, it doesn't have to be forever, right? It's just something to get you to a certain point, and then, you can transition
And I hope I'm not making it sound like so easy, like no problems or anything, because there are. And like, for example, moving 4 adults from a bigger area into a smaller area, half the size, basically living on top of each other, that was hard. It wasn't easy for everybody. Bless their hearts, they stuck it out. But, you do have to adjust, and every property has its quirks. It has its weird thing about the property that's going to be an issue always. So, but the cool thing, that's another perk about house hacking, is you actually learn those weird quirks by living there. And then that they're there. And then you can.
And that's how you name them, right? That's how you keep track of them. You name them after their weird quirks, and then keep track of them. So, I love the whole house. I wish, like I said, I wish I was able to do, or I did that. I didn't know about it. And now that, like Zuber says, I mean, when you look at it, it makes so much sense. And, is there, I guess, any book that could possibly, I don't know. I never looked into that. Is there a book about house hacking, or is there any book that has helped you in this real estate journey?
Oh my goodness. So I'm not a very big reader. I listen, because my mind just does not focus for a book. I know that there's a book out there for house hacking. I've never read it, but there is one out there. And then, a book that I really liked, I did like Set for Life. I forget the guy who wrote it.
Scott Trench, right? Bigger pockets. Yeah.
Yes,
well, you know what? I'll put you on the spot then, since you said the book. No, I mean, well, since you can't name any of the ORAD or one rental at a time kind of family. So I guess what would be, a podcast or YouTube channel that you would recommend, or that you like to follow?
Okay.
It can be real estate, mindset, anything. I mean,
right. Okay. And it can be, okay. Well, obviously anybody in the ORAC community for sure. I can't say that, or I can't say
that. You cannot. You can't. That's too easy. That's why you can't use that.
Can I say Bigger Pockets?
Sure.
Okay, Bigger Pockets. Because I'm a huge fan of David Green. I do like the way that he explains real estate. He explains it in a way that my mind seems to understand, and just his confidence and stuff. And it's really it gets me going. And so I do like David Green for sure. So there's that.
Yeah, he does explain things really well, and he's super easy to follow. Since we're talking about YouTube channels and podcast, and you want to start this fitness program and everything, what, I guess, are you like a CrossFit type of fitness style or Pilates, or I mean, what, like, is there a certain kind of specific method that you do?
So I love the CrossFit and I love the lifting. So I'm not scared of cardio. You got to have cardio mixed in with your routine for sure, but definitely like I used to do CrossFit and I loved the competitiveness, but then going to, my own gym, there's different workouts that you can do where you can, incorporate the CrossFit type of workouts into your routine, but lifting and CrossFit basically.
So like I said, I have my own home gym, and like I mentioned, it was supposed to save me money from going to the gym.
Yeah.
Now, what would you say about that? Has it saved you money from going to the gym?
I would say in some ways, probably not. Because I did go a little crazy. I did get a little addicted to buying a little more than I probably should, but it's 100% worth it though, because I use it every day. I'm out there every day working out. So it gets put to use. It's not just bought and then it just stays there, So, and I used to go to the gym, but then since I had my daughter, it's just so much easier to just pick her up and bring her out with me and do a workout. So it's 100% worth every penny that I put into that thing.
It must be super convenient during like the winter months too, right?
Yeah, it's just cold. So yeah, so I bought a space heater, and then during the summer I'll have to figure out what we'll do, but because it gets hot.
Do you have like rules in your garage gym or your home gym? Like, people have to.
I may, because since my roommates do use it, I should have like a sign that says re-rack your weights and clean up the dog hair that you left in, because the dogs will come in and they're just like, but yeah. So maybe I should do like a little rule thing on the wall.
All right. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know I'll probably see you on, Dion has a live in about an hour, but let's give people kind of your one last maybe advice or recommendation if they wanted to get started in real estate, or what would you recommend to them?
Well, I know I said this before, but I would just pick up a phone and call a lender, talk to them, and then just educate, really just focus on just learning, the language of real estate, learn what a HELOC is, learn what a conventional loan is, and learn the foundation of it, and then just begin to take action and make a plan. So that is my advice. And I hope it's not, overwhelming to anybody, but you gotta start somewhere, and it'll just start, the path will begin to just go in front of you once you start taking those actions and those steps. That's at least what happened to me, just with, taking action and doing the work. So.
Well, now that you mentioned reaching out to people and taking action, now little selfless promotion here. If somebody wants to reach out to you and, talk to you about house hacking, or like you're saying, Montana or Utah, or even like your fitness program, how can they get a hold of you?
So you can find me on Facebook, Alyssa McEwan, or you can find me on Instagram. It's more fitness related. I don't really have a lot of, real estate stuff yet, but you can find me at AlyssaBug_. And
I'll have all the links below, but it threw me off, but Alyssa McEwan. So why don't you tell them how you spell your last name though?
Okay. So McEwan, McEwan.
Okay. Yeah, that just threw me. Good thing I checked before we got on this interview. But so as you can see, my son, he's very big into superheroes. He got me back into superheroes. And usually I ask a lot of my guests, who's their favorite superhero. But I'm coming to find out that not everybody follows superheroes like I do. So we had a conversation before. So instead, what I'm going to ask you is, what superpower do you think you have that helps you in real estate?
Well, first of all, Superman's my favorite. Second of all, I would say my superpower is that I am very determined and very goal oriented. And once I have a goal for myself or a direction, I get very tunnel vision towards that and just obsessed. So I just go. And so I find that that's my superpower because it just keeps me going and it keeps me motivated. So yeah.
Awesome. I mean, that's a great superpower to have, because I can attest to it. You probably can too. Real estate is, like you said, it's not always,
Rainbow.
easy. Yeah, there's problems, and determination and every focus it makes it easy to continue on and see the bigger goal.
Right. Yep.
But thank you, so much for taking your time out of your busy schedule and doing this interview. I'm sure a lot of people are going to reach out to you because, like you said, house hacking is definitely, the cheat code to wealth. And if people can just figure out how to get started, I think they'll realize like that's how they're going to either, reach financial independence or financial freedom a lot sooner. But
Agree.
so thank you for coming. Everyone out there, please like, subscribe, hit that notification button and just keep looking for those great deals out there.
Thank you.
Right.